substance. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no cape, and some informer friend we love Lake. We in Global, bona fake friend and bona tape. We in Global, we not promote them, we not support them. Look at them and she come here represent for. We in Global TV, check it.
This is Global TV election results coverage. This is Global TV election results coverage. This is Global TV election results coverage.
Good night, and welcome to Global TV Round the People's Point of View Roundtable Talk. Tonight is the final night in our Jamaica Decide series. It doesn't mean that we will not continue to talk about the election results and the impact of the election result, the confusion of the election result. But no, I do not accept the result of the election, not at least without further explanation and clarity with regards to Kingston and St. Andrew. It is my democratic right not to accept the result of the election. Tonight, roundtable talk, and if you not join me tonight, me either go Tanya steer pan or me go garbage. But tonight, roundtable talk, we're asking two questions. Do you have confidence in the integrity of the director of election? And the next question is, who is more bruised out of this election? Good night, and welcome to Global Television. Thank you for joining us on this tonight Global TV Election Roundtable Talk. And if we're not engaged tonight, hey, we just gonna fall asleep right upon live fun. It's like how people watch people asleep on TikTok. It will be first on YouTube tonight. Wanna watch me fall right asleep, right yes upon. Good night to those on the X, to those on the Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook. Good evening. Good evening and welcome to Global Television. Good evening to those on the live. Good evening to those in the chat. Good evening to all my family members. Good evening to my community in parity. Good evening to all my moderators. Good evening to everyone. Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Anthony R., good evening. Hero Bottom, good evening and welcome. Good evening, Debbie Jervis, good evening. Patricia Matthews, good evening. Amazing Grace, good evening and welcome. Good evening, Natalia Freeman. Real, good evening and welcome. Elaine Turner, good evening and welcome. Good evening, Michelle Lewis Wilson, Pamela McNeil, good evening. Beat and Teach, Wagwan, good evening and welcome. Good evening and welcome to everyone. Thank you all for joining us. Rosemary Samuels, good evening and welcome. Good evening. Colleen Stewart, good evening and welcome. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. James, good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Cousin Jamie, good evening and welcome. Good evening to Sim, good evening and welcome. Sharon Powell, good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Jamaican Foodie, good evening and welcome. Audrey Robson, good evening. Brittany Lyon, Miranda Roddick, good evening. Good evening, Amazing Grace. JamaicanTV.com, good evening. Good evening, Brenda. Sharon Pert, good evening. D.I.E. Jerk World, good evening and manners and respect. Bro, how are you? Cynthia B, good evening and welcome. Good evening. Dwayne Anglin, good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Good evening to JP, good evening and welcome. Dalton Gale, good evening and welcome. Jasmine Murray, good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Margaret Dice, good evening and welcome. Shevelton Williams, good evening and welcome. Flo M, good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is the final broadcast in our 2024 Jamaica Decide. Charmaine Platt, good evening and welcome. Lennox Reed, good evening and welcome. We want to end the series on a roundtable talk. At the top of the chat, the link is pinned there, where I am expecting you all to engage tonight and to tell me, Sasha Lewis, tell me how you feel of the election result. Do you accept it? Do you believe it? Do you have confidence in the director of election? Who is more bruised out of this election? Do you want more clarity from the director of elections? Or are you satisfied that the election was free and fair? I want to hear from you this evening. So that is the reason why the link to the studio is pinned in the top of the chat. You don't have to put your name. You can write anything you want in there. Or just write the name of your YouTube channel, anything you want to write in there. You don't have to turn your camera on so nobody sees who is speaking. Let me hear your views tonight. Who is more bruised out of this election? Do you accept the result? Do you have confidence in the integrity of the director of elections? And do you think after such a week of confusion, the director of election should have given the nation a press conference? Do you think the director of elections should go? I want you all to help me answer those questions tonight. Otherwise, me just fall asleep. Found right, yeah, so. fall asleep right pano ya son. So I want all of you to tell me. Join the stream. Hit the link in the top of the chat. Join the stream and let us have a conversation. Cause Femi one mouth tired. Sonia Ellis. Femi one mouth tired. And it is time for some of you to join the conversation and let us hear your views. Do you accept the numbers? Do you have confidence in the integrity of the director of election? I want to hear your views tonight. Delpha Campbell, good evening and welcome. And let me do a little bit of housekeeping. I won't be broadcasting on Sunday night. Dorothy Elliott, good evening. On Sunday will be the farewell of my cousin, Mikey Bless. Good evening and welcome. Sunday will be the farewell of my cousin, and I will be attending the funeral via social media. So I will not be broadcasting on Sunday. Global TV will return to the At a Glance program on Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon UK time. So after tonight's broadcast, Global TV will not return until Monday morning for the At a Glance program. Yuris Salsky, good evening and welcome. But I want you tonight to join me and let me hear your views as to whether you accept the result of the election, if you have confidence. John Brown, good evening. Sharon Powell, good evening. In the director of elections. Do you understand the results? Or are you still left confused by the results? Do you think further clarity should be given to the Kingston and St. Andrew municipality, the tie? Do you think there should be further explanation as to the legality? Do you want an explanation as to what the popular vote means? Do you want all those explanations from your director of elections? And do you think your director of elections should give clarity to the public in order to alleviate a lot of people's confusion? But listening to the director of election from Monday night to yesterday, do you understand when the director of election speak, or does the director of election clear up your confusion? Valerie God's favor, good evening and welcome. Does the director of election, when he speaks, clear up any of your confusion? What do you think should happen to our political process going forward? The link is in the top of the chat. hit the link and enter the studio and tell us what your views are. You don't have to put your name when it asks you to put your name, a display name. You don't have to turn your camera on. We use that as instead of using the phone, because when we use the phone, the audio doesn't come through properly. Coming via the studio is a much clearer way. So join the debate tonight. Let us hear what your views are with regards to the election results. Let me hear what your views are with the election result. But I will remind you, because I always have to remind you, of the Prime Minister's spoken words.
Hotel in Hatfield, Manchester, where the keynote speaker for the launch of the mobile app RX Pack by Horton's Pharmacy is none other than the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness. Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good evening, Cliff. Good evening to your listeners, and particularly your listeners here in Mandeville.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good. I had an opportunity to go around the country to do what I like to do, which is to interact with the people. I got to see firsthand, really, some of the challenges. And it's always good to have this kind of interaction, particularly midterm, so that you have an opportunity to recalibrate policies.
Right. This was something I wanted to address today. That slipped me, but Prime Minister, you know, said, me have ears put on a dot, hide in a tree, stick up on wall, in a book, everywhere, Prime Minister. Me have ears. So even if it miss me, when me listen again, me I go remember, me I go pick up. You must always point out the Prime Minister's misinformation. Cousin Marina Wagwan, how you do? You must always point out the Prime Minister's waffle, misinformation, sideways speaking, and all the things that the Prime Minister does. The Prime Minister likes to use terms and phrases because they're phrase and that. So they will just blow over people's head. A midterm election, Prime Minister. Let me play you back before they go see me tell life on you.
From the Tropics View Hotel in Hatfield, Manchester, where the keynote speaker for the launch of the mobile app RX Pack by Horton's Pharmacy is none other than the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness. Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good evening, Cliff. Good evening to your listeners, and particularly your listeners here in Mandeville.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good. I had an opportunity to go around the country to do what I like to do, which is to interact with the people. I got to see firsthand, really, some of the challenges. And it's always good to have this kind of interaction, particularly midterm.
Whether you're operating in a 5-year or 4-year election cycle, whether you're operating on a 4-year or 5-year election cycle, a midterm election, if you're operating in a 4-year cycle, would come halfway through the 4-year cycle. So 2 years after the general election. That is what a midterm election would be. And if it is that you're operating on a 5-year cycle, it's the same 2.5 years after the general election. Then comes the midterm. Bear in mind, please, bear in mind that we haven't had a local government election. Since before this one we just had, we had not had a local government election. Millie McBean, good evening. Since 2016. Okay, let's brush off that. Let's measure it on the general election held in 2020. So to describe it as a midterm election, we would have had to had this election we've just had in 2022. That is what a midterm election would be. Bear in mind that the Prime Minister has to be drawn in front of the courts to have this election. He tried at all costs to escape the bruise. He tried, members, Deborah, members say me dunce. Members say when you come to maths, me duncer than me a maths. But remember, them a JLP. You have to keep that in mind. Them a JLP. Amoy, good evening and welcome. Navlet Samuels, how are you? Valerie God favor, good evening. Bear in mind that the Prime Minister have to be drugged in front of the court in order to honor your democratic rights after postponing it 3 times because of political expediency. It is politically better for me. It won't show me up in front of everybody. So it will give me time to trot along. He was dodging these bruises we've just seen him receive in public. He uses the power of the legislature to block you going to the polls. 3 times, Isilda Williams. Isilda Williams is listening from Manchester, UK. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Global TV family. Three times he denied you that right. Until he have to be drugged, kicking and screaming in front of the courts. But the bruises were always there waiting for him. Thelma Platt, good evening and welcome. On this evening's roundtable talk, I want you to join me. Hit the link in the top of the chat. You don't have to put your name. You don't have to turn your camera on. Tell me who is more bruised out of this election. Do you accept the results? Do you have confidence in the integrity of the director of elections? Do you think more clarity should be given with regards to the Kingston and St. Andrew municipality? Good night, head teacher Ken, welcome. How are you? How are you? So hit the link in the top of the chat tonight and let us engage. Let me know how you feel about this election result. Do you accept the result? Do you have confidence in the director of elections? Or do you think more clarity should be given to the Kingston and St. Andrew municipality? Do you think your director of election that you pay a public office in the office of the Prime Minister, albeit, should engage the nation in a press conference? Rodney Thomas. Do you think your director of elections should engage you in a press conference? And if you don't engage with me tonight, may I go fall asleep right as a pounder like how people watch people asleep on TikTok? Or let us engage. I know me want the election result, Rob. I know me want have a view upon it. I don't me want have a view upon it. And I don't me want it wrong. So join us tonight, let us talk. Good night, Debbie Jervis. What a waddle of confusion.
Oh, good night, Producer Wayne. What a waddle indeed.
I need to swim after this because only something very challenging and stressful could really clear the stress.
I tell you, it is just, first of all, we don't need any clarification from Glasshole. Glasshole talks with his mouth full of food. Tell you say him and yam food. You know, Jamaica likes to take a lot of things happening here in America and grab it and run with it. How come they didn't grab and run with the electoral process that they have here in America?
It won't give them the chance to shut down Glasspole and tell Glasspole, shut your beak, shut your beak. The result is not what we want. Hello, Debbie.
I lost
Debbie?
you there for a sec. Oh, hold on. I'm coming back in.
I can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yes. Loving and caring, good evening and welcome.
Yeah, I mean, they take everything. They take everything from you know, they try to mimic everything that happened in America, down to the chumpsters' stupid moves that Condro is trying to replicate. Why they didn't take the same process and procedures that we have here in America to run the elections? You know, I mean, first of all, we have polling.
Use the narrative where it benefits me.
Yeah, we have polling stations here. First of all, everybody who's gonna vote is registered to vote. They have their voter registration cards, and when you go to the polling stations, before you even go to the polling stations, the supervisor of elections here sends you out a card telling you what election is going on. On the card, it's more like a legal size printout.
You have your polling number, which is an ID number, which is like your identifier number.
You have a voter's registration number, which is separate and apart from your social security number.
Yes.
At your voter's registration number, they ask you when you come to the polling place where you're registered to bring some ID with you. Plain and simple. When you go to the polling stations where you're registered, your name is on the list. If you don't go to your polling station, you go to, like if you're going for early voting, because they have the option of early voting here for local elections and, you know, the midterms, everything. If you don't go to your actual polling station and you go to one of the early voting stations, they have the list there with your name on it still.
In the UK, our polling card gives you the address of your polling station.
Yes, this one does too. The one here in America does too. It does. But I'm just saying.
There's no confusion as to where you need to go and poll
Correct.
in the UK.
Correct.
Here.
But you have the option of going into a different polling station if you're voting early for convenience. Let's say my polling station is, you know, 5 miles from my house, but I am passing, let's say, our civic center or our supervisor of elections office that is close to my house on my way home from work, I will pop in there and I'll go in and I'll show my ID. They will have my name on the rolls and they'll just check me off. I'll get my ballot, show my ID and everything, and I go and I do my thing and go on about my business. On election day, they think we have like 5 or 7 days of early voting. On election day, you have to go to your polling place that's on your voter registration card. Once the polls are closed at 7 o'clock, TV stations, every TV station, even in the most obscure ones, are broadcasting
And
when
they're
the
locked in
ballots,
until you have clarity.
until everything is done. They will broadcast up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. If all the polling places have not finished counting their ballots, they will stay there until they do. And if it seems like it's going to stretch out, okay, maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, some stations may go off, go back to some regular programming, but they have that ticker tape down there. They have that ticker tape running across your screen, telling you which polling station has turned in their ballots and who has gotten what amount of votes, whichever party, whoever got the votes, what the percentage is. Next morning, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they're back at it. And they'll tell
Yeah.
you overnight, this polling station, votes came in, their ballots came in, and it was counted. It was counted overnight, but here are the results. There is no whole week after election unless it is a very tight race where there's like a difference of maybe, I don't know, small number, 300. And you
I
have a
want to
difference
ask
of,
I want to ask a two-part question.
Mhm.
Do you think our political process needs urgent reform? And
Absolutely.
if it does, do you think our political class has the willpower to do it? And I want to ask anybody else who's interested in the conversation. The studio can accommodate about 8 to 10 of us. So you can all join in and get involved in the conversation. Continue, Debbie.
Yeah, it definitely does need reform, revamping. And yes, the political offices, they all have the capability. First of all, we are in the 21st century. I don't want to hear nothing about these people out there, like Rail said, out in Bush, counted book and pencil. We have the technology. Here, when you vote, you're finished with your ballot and you're going to submit it. You have one person, one or two people at a machine that you place your ballot in at the top of the machine and it sucks it right in. Nobody can see what you did and who you voted for until the ballots are being counted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, technology is here. We have so many different ways of doing things. And if there's a discrepancy, they go right back to recount. Go right back to
Is it
recount.
is
You
it the
know,
system? Is it the system? Is it the systems in place are not adequate enough, or the problem is because of corrupt officials operating the systems? Richard Rowe, good evening.
um, the system I think that's in Jamaica could use upgrading, but the corruption is top of the list. They don't because the ones that are corrupt they don't want the system to be upgraded because it won't allow them to cheat and steal as much. They don't want that.
Mhm.
And I believe in my heart of hearts. Now, don't get me wrong. I am neither PNP or JLP. Like, you hear lots of people say, I'm Jamaican. I want what's best for my country. I want to go back home and be comfortable. Don't have to worry about if somebody going to jack me up in the street. Somebody know that I come from foreign and see me walking in the street of my town and don't know me because they're new to my town and don't know my family and my family connections in the town and ready to come jack me up. I want to go back home and visit and be free to go anywhere I want to go.
True.
It that's what I want. And I do believe, like I started to say in my heart of hearts, the People's National Party won. Just from the fact that Conjure Colmes came out in his, I don't know which cellar he went under, because he sure wasn't doing his speech from their headquarters. Their headquarters was locked up, shut down, lights off. One number they get woman out there walking with one bell and our flag in our green shirt, a ring bell a night. Where the heck was everybody? If they had won fair and square and outright, just outright won fair and square, why was they not in everybody in the street, not jumping up and dancing, prancing, blowing their stupid annoying horns and ringing the bell like they're ready for pop out bell tongue? This
The
man came
silence,
up.
the silence of Nesta Morgan is deafening.
Oh,
Why you think? Why you think that would be?
I'm not ready for him yet to know. But I'm talking about Mr. Prime Minister. He came. What the speech that he gave, acting as if and saying that they won, that was a concession speech, because there is no way on God's green earth, if your party won the local elections, you wouldn't be dancing and chanting and carrying on and telling people to see. And so I'm say, me telling us that we was going to win. See, there now, what you have to say, how you like me now. No, it was, oh, well, we won this and we won that, and numbers kept
I,
changing. And
mhm.
when you saw, because I was watching the results, and they showed the map of Jamaica. And when I looked at it, the last time I looked at it before they cut the live, most of the map was orange. And I was like, holy cow, is this really happening? And then all of a sudden they cut the live, and then, nothing. And then Mr. Man, come on. Oh, we won. We won. We won.
For me, that
And
was where most of my suspicion starts, where the broadcast was cut before
right,
10 o'clock. That
right.
bit didn't make sense. And
9:30 at
like
night.
about an hour
Big
later, like an hour and
9:30
so
at
later, the
night.
Prime Minister went to have a press conference and Instagram. None of that all makes sense to me.
Oh, big old election night broadcast. That should be nationwide. And I'm not talking about the radio station or the television station. I'm talking about every single media outlet should be there broadcasting and talking about every time a polling station closed, or every time ballots were counted for a specific polling station or area, and it come in and it was counted. Upgrade. Oh, we just received word that polling station blah 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 from East St. Mary or whatever, this particular polling station, the ballots were counted, and it seems like so and so has moved ahead, and it seems like so and so has won that particular division or town, city, whatever. And it just continues until all the ballots were counted and presented to the EOJ. Now,
Mhm.
what do they think people are going to think when everybody just stopped talking about it? and there's no clear, concise information to say orange one or green one. Again, like I said, the last time I saw the map, I'm looking at it and it was predominantly orange. They weren't even talking about the KSAMC. It was predominantly orange. And then all of a sudden they're tied for the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. Okay, fine, they're tied. Let's continue to count the votes and continue to keep the country abreast of the progress.
The country is still left hanging with confusion. A lot of people are still confused by what we're given as the final result. And for me, I haven't seen at any point where the Jamaica Labour Party has claimed victory. All I see from them is a post-mortem as to why they've done so horribly across the country. Anyone wants to join in the conversation, if you have a view, Mentor Grant, if you have a view about the election process and the whole confusion of the result, tap on the link in the top of the chat and it will take you to the studio. You don't have to put in your real name or turn your camera on. You can just join the studio and have your say, because the phone calls don't work well for my system. So hit the link in the top of the chat, join the studio, and let us have your say. Let us hear what you have to say on the whole election process. Do you trust? Do you have integrity in the director of elections? Who came out more bruised in this election? Do you understand the result? And do you think we should have more clarity in a press conference from the director of election? Join us and let us have the conversation. Continue, Debbie.
Let me just say this. If the JLP had won fair and square and outright, the entire country would be a sea of green with bells and stupid green horns up and down the street, running up and down and carrying on. There would be no reason for anybody to believe that they didn't win. Look at Mark Golding's speech election night. Look at the excitement in him talking to his people, his group, and versus the way Conjure was talking to his.
The silence of Nesta Morgan tells you that the JLP has lost.
I was just gonna get to him. Where is Minister of Minister of Misinformation? Where the person that have the biggest mouth and always talking about outside, both sides of their mouth, talking nonsense, talking a mess, and talking and making accusations that they have to end up retracting or getting them behind food for. Where is he? Mr. Minister of Information, sir, ma'am. Where are you?
We
need information.
We have to hold him and rub things in him face, you see, because rub it, make it crack the dry egg upon him face.
Oh my God.
The persons who you find taken today are comrades from Woodall, comrades from Moko, and several other places. They could not mobilize enough people from Moko. What it says to you is that the people of Moko do not believe in Romain Morris. Romain Morris has crossed the floor, which is his right. But I will say to you, as member of parliament, he will never win Moko division as long as I'm a member of parliament, and I put that down. The persons who you find.
They make everybody see, because he made a blunder and he must come back in a public, come suck it up, because in a public him come make the blunder.
Right. Exactly. Where are you, Miss Ma'am, sir? Where are you? You are the Minister of Information. We need information. We need information. We need clarification and information. Where are you? Why are you so quiet? Why the
At
heck?
this
What?
height
Cat
of
got your tongue?
confusion, at this height of confusion, we should be having clarity from Minister Bagamouth. But
I'm
rather,
telling
he
you.
has gone in a deafening silence.
Boy, for somebody that's who's supposed to be out there giving information to the public, he sure is quiet. Cat got his tongue. Cat got his tongue. And where has Miss Madam Speaker of the House, where has she been? I have not seen her or heard anything from her since the them going into the polling place in their
She's been, her constituency's been severely battered, you see. So she's thinking about what's her next move
mm,
because the Mayor of Kingston feather, which has been hoisted, and this is what was robbing them, you see. Losing the Kingston and St. Andrew municipality, where at this majority of the stealing
mhm,
in local government happen. That's the money cow of local government. So it really
exactly.
hurt them that them lose the municipality of
Rumor
Kingston
ha-
and Andrew. And it
rumor
really
has it.
rubbing them.
Rumor has it that when she found out so they lost the Kingston and St. Andrew municipality, she dropped down. Aw, woo woo woo. Poor little tink tink.
Well, one elephant shouldn't just have passed her when she dropped down.
God,
Mm.
my goodness gracious. And like I said, Mr. Glasshole, sir, stop near my food. And you need to you need to tender your resignation because it is obvious that you were bought out and paid off. And him coming with his little half-ass
Our comrades from
nonsensical explanation, you know, dumb as a doorknob. And he thinks people are going to suck up what he says and take it as gospel. No, sir. We're more intelligent than that. We are way more intelligent than you. So,
I have
yeah,
not
come
had
clean.
a clear since from Monday night to now. I have not had a clear explanation from Mr. Brown, and I'm going to try to cue his different explanations quickly, but have not had a clear explanation from Mr. Brown from Tuesday night,
Because him
from
a
Monday
flutter like
night
fish. Him a
until
flutter like fish
now.
out of water.
Every time he speaks, it creates for me much more confusion. Every time he speaks, hold on.
Where we stand,
Yes.
going to bed.
What is the latest with the results
This is his
and the position
Monday
tonight?
night.
The voter turnout.
This was his Monday night
Monday night, yep.
argument while the Southern saying good evening, while the debacle was unfolding after Holness stole Cliff, cut the darn live, and got your bed. Then this was a telephone interview with IRA FM.
Vote was 39.6%. Oh, at this time. A little bit below what.
Where we stand,
Yes.
going to bed.
That's true. St. Margaret's Bay. Divisions. All right.
Okay, Mr. Brown is online now on the phone. So,
All right. Good evening, Mr. Brown.
Hi, good evening.
Director of Elections, Glasgow Brown Online. So we're trying to find out what's the latest. We know the preliminary count from what we have been getting from your office has been concluded. So we're trying to find out from you, sir, what is the latest with the results and the position tonight.
The voter turnout was 29.6% overall this time. A little bit below what it was in 2016. We are now starting tomorrow morning within the final count. We anticipate will take over the next 2 to 3 days to complete. After that exercise is done, they will officially announce to who are the elected councillors.
So from the preliminary count, though, Mr. Brown, what is that saying?
I think the JLP is leading in 7 parishes.
Said it right
And
the
the
first time.
PMP, I think, is leading so far in the other 5.
In the order?
In 5.
Oh, yeah.
About 7 and 5 would be 12 then. And
Well, it would be, in the 6th, yeah.
Say again, Mr.
it would be 6.
Oh, 7 and 6.
Right.
But what about the overall? Because we hear about the overall.
Oh, sorry. Let me correct myself.
Yeah.
The JLP is in 7. I think the PMP is in 5, and I think there's 2 that is tied.
Oh, okay. Because
Okay, that sounds like it now.
Portmore, yes. Okay. So what about the overall the vote, popular vote? The popular vote.
I don't have the numbers. I think it's in excess of 6,500 votes.
No, but for each side, because we heard.
For each side?
Yes.
I don't have that breakdown. I don't have that breakdown with me right now.
Okay,
You want to tell us, Mr. Which the 7 that the JLP is leading in and the 6 the PNP is leading in?
I don't have it before me right now, the breakdown for the different parishes. But what I recall is that they are tied in Kingston, 3-3, and I think in St. Andrew they are 17-17. I think the JP is ahead in Clarendon, I think it's Portland, St. Mary, St. James, and St. Thomas. The PMP is ahead in Manchester.
All right, never mind. We heard the fumble there on Monday night. I want you to listen to him on Tuesday because you have to follow the trail.
Details, I'm Ricardo. Comment follows criticism from members of the public.
Passed in the KSAMC. The official counting of the local government election should be concluded on Wednesday. In a statement Tuesday night, the EOJ said it had completed the official count of ballots in 56 electoral divisions. Tawna Thomas for Nationwide News.
The Director of Elections, Glasgow Brown, says it was a deliberate decision to delay posting live updates on its website during the counting of ballots in Monday's local government elections. His comment follows criticism from members of the public who visited the Electoral Office of Jamaica's website on Monday, but no updated information was available. Mr. Brown says this was done to allow media houses and other personnel who paid for the live updates to make the announcements. He was speaking during Nationwide at 5 on Tuesday.
On our website, there's a delay because you're one of our persons who pay for your feed.
Yes, we did.
Right, and therefore our website did a delay. We took a decision not to update our website live in the sense that it means that other persons who have not paid would have been given the feed. So there's a deliberate decision to delay updating our website so as to allow the persons who have invested to so be able to announce those.
Mr. Brown says he's awaiting a final report on some technical issues the EOJ's system experienced on Monday.
So you heard the answer to the profiteering there and the deliberate act to deny you your right.
Pure crookedness.
I'm going to also let you hear a thing on Wednesday question and answer with your, again, Director of Elections.
On the ballot box, and they end up happens after the close of polling this election.
Hold on.
Good evening, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, there seems to be there are concerns about the way in which the votes were counted this election, the wrong declaration of Clarendon, what seems to be the confusion about who won St. Mary initially first. What went wrong with Clarendon, firstly?
There's no difference in counting this time around as against other elections. I think we need to understand, and the public need to understand, it goes through two processes. On election night, you get what is known as the preliminary count. The preliminary count is what happens after the close of polling at an individual polling station, where the presiding officer, along with the indoor agents, count the ballots and then tally the votes and then pack everything in a ballot box and transport that to the returning officer. And then what the returning officer does at the night of election, they then take all the number, transcribe the number that is on the ballot box, and they end up with what is known as the preliminary count. That was done, and the result was announced on the...
So your information, Mr. Brown, is preliminary. Preliminary.
The night, on Monday night, as relates to the preliminary count, then we embarked on another phase, and this is dictated by the law. The law requires us to do a final count. The final count entails, and I think the public need to understand that what happens in the final count, and it has never taken place, and there's a narrative going around that it is slow. The final count has never been completed in Jamaica in 24 hours. So the process entails that the returning officer, in the presence of the agents at the counting center on the second day, which was Tuesday, and at times the agent representative is a battery of lawyers. What they do, the returning officer opens a ballot box, then examine every document, most of the document in the ballot box, including the poll books, another thing, the unused ballots, etc., etc. And then they begin, in most cases, the count of the ballot. What it means is that they examine every single ballot that is put in the ballot box. And at times, the time that it takes to count a ballot in that situation, sometimes it takes longer than the norm, because everybody is looking to see whether it is properly marked, if there's an issue. And therefore, sometimes it takes time. And therefore, that process has to be completed. We cannot circumvent that process in order to speed up the count. And therefore, it takes some time. And that's what we're going through.
So then, what happened in Clarendon?
Clarendon, and it happens. In other words, what we remember again, on Monday night, you have a lie upon here. We have always been in the house by the observer grouping. And CAFE came out, despite some issues they had, they came out and endorsed the election itself. And they did say this election was fair and transparent based on the observation of the activities that took place in the election.
As you mentioned, CAFE, I'm happy you brought them up. That's the Citizens' Action for Free and Fair Elections. Okay. No, they raised concerns, they had raised concerns yesterday as well and beyond the headlines, and even on the day of the election, saying that in about 11% of the polling stations, observers weren't allowed to observe throughout the day. They were given specific time periods, and they had serious concerns about that, which brought into question the issue of training of your election day workers. How do you respond to some of those concerns that electoral workers weren't properly trained, which saw pretty much 1 in 10, more than 1 in 10 polling station not allowing the CAFE observers to do their jobs?
And we do, that's part of our training. We do train them in terms of the rights of the observer. It's an arrangement that we have, and it's an understanding that they should be allowed to free access, certainly to our polling station, because at the end of the day, we want their stamp of approval in terms of what we do. We coming out of that exercise and coming out of the issues that took place on Monday, I've had a discussion with the chairman of CAFE, Ms. Baston. In fact, I've also apologized on behalf of the Commission and the Electoral Office in terms of what happened. There's a scheduled meeting sometime next week between myself and Ms. Paston and her team. And we're going to look at how best.
Overall,
of those three different explanations since Monday, which of those make things clearer for you? Which of those do you understand?
Not one. Not one.
So how can we trust this process when the 3 times that he spoke in public since the confusion, it has not brought clarity to none, most, or if any of us? How do we trust this election where we do not have clarity? Continue, Debbie. Debbie? I think something is wrong with Debbie audio.
Hold on. I'm coming back in. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I said the man need to spit out all the food while I'm having a mouth corner. Him have enough food.
But even if you have food in a mouth, Debbie, it doesn't stop you from stringing your words together.
Did you not notice how very extremely nervous he was? This is not your first rodeo, sir, Mr. Glasshole Brown Noser. This is not your first rodeo. We had 29% voter turnout, and we're having this much of a debacle and processing of the votes and the ballots to get a clear and concise decision. Can you imagine if they had like a 60% turnout? Rastaja. All next year to rotted. All next year they were still waiting.
You'd have need international help to come help them count it.
Oh my God. All 6 months from now, we would not have had a clear and concise winner according to the way he and his office works.
Do you think this man
so now
before the general election?
Say that again.
Do you think he should go before the general election?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With the handling of what will be a showdown general election.
Absolutely. Listen, like I said, 29% of what? 3 million people showed up and voted. And he can't handle that minimal amount. What's going to happen when we get 60, 70, 80% of the people who decide that, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to stick my finger in that ink and I'm going to put it on what I want. What's going to happen then? What's going to happen then?
To assist, or maybe we would have to wait for times that by how much ever when you work it out to the percentage of what voted now. And then that's the time to take them.
There is no way this man is on the up and up and being straightforward, shooting from the hip to us. He's not. It's obvious. Because they knew from the voter turnout and from the ballots that they counted, they knew it was a clear-cut win for the PNP. Clear-cut win. But of course, Andrew Holness cannot have that because he figures all of his hard work of lying and buying and flipping and flopping and talking out both sides of his mouth, he cannot let go of all of that work that he put in because he spent enough money and paid enough people to come vote for him. And he just can't believe that the people are taking money and yam him out and go vote for somebody else because they're sick and tired of him.
And one of the things is he's also trying to save his skin from his party turning in on him because the weaker he is going into the general election, is the more
Exactly.
his party would want to remove him to save more of them. So let's see where this next 15 months or the
Oh my
next
God.
6 months, let's see where the next 6 months take
And I,
Andrew Holness. Because if
oh,
he's going to be toppled by his party, it will have to be done within the next 6 months to have a replacement and give that replacement a year to build themselves for the general election. So
mhm.
let's watch how how it works for Andrew Holness in the next 6 months.
That is just, man, oh man, must say, if they had actually won fair and square and above board, I'll know them from Monday night. I'll know the JLP would be out there ringing bell and blowing
Oh,
greenhorn.
they would have deaf way.
Oh
The,
my gosh.
the tone crier. The tone crier really wait until everything died down. Then him come back out, come tell we. Same did have COVID.
Mm.
And doctor, you can't talk with COVID. That's why I couldn't tell you how we win the election and by how much. I'm not comfortable with Nesta silence. It's robbing me.
Something is up. They said they are them. You know how much fire they light out a door. Pan cold stove for cook for big pot for cook the books, and them just can't come up with a recipe. They can't come up with a recipe for make it seem believable, and people would take it. They are desperately holding
Just
on,
just like
desperately trying to hold on.
just like with the scammy festo, they've run
Oh,
out of lie at the very last minute.
right, exactly. I mean, who in their right mind go in front of an in a podium in front of an audience to say, "Oh, we won our election. Our local elections were won by the JLP, and look at all of this, and yeah, and because I've gone out there and I fought the good fight." And that was a concession speech made to seem like a winner's speech. That man whole countenance. Look at all the times he's been out in public campaigning for the potential candidates for the JLP. Look how he was while he was out there. Even in the 2, 3 o'clock a morning, them a walk a street like rolling calf or ring bell. He was
And
up and enthusiastic, and everything was yeah, and we're gonna do this, and yeah, this is for us, and yeah, and you supposedly won, and you're like, yeah, yeah, we kind of, yeah, we did this, yeah.
had
I'm
enough of him.
waiting for some dunce to come out and say, oh, he was enthusiastic, he was just tired. He was just tired. Heck, so was Mark Golden. He was tired as heck because where you see Andrew rolling around in a vehicle and they sit on up on rooftop and they stick out in hand and in big ears and big nose and big eye through sunroof and moonroof. Mark Golden
Hmm.
was hitting the streets walking.
Exactly.
He was
Exactly.
walking. And if anybody have any reason to be tired, it would be Mark Golden. And this miscreant come talk about, yeah, we won. Yeah, it's us. Why did you not, first of all, why did you not do your victory speech from your headquarters? Which,
It was done from his headquarters, but while going through the back door and do it on Instagram
right,
rather than doing it on
out loud,
mainstream media. After you send him
on
away,
mainstream media, out loud and proud. Come on
exactly.
out with it. Why you had to go over to Instagram? Why not come out and be on the mainstream platforms and the mainstream media and tell it?
Because maybe people wouldn't be looking for him over Instagram at that time, you see. So he said, Okay, they think everything is done. They're all
Done
gone to
for
bed. Let me
tonight.
go.
Yes, we shut it down for tonight. And they're all gone to bed. So I'm waiting for tomorrow morning. So let me just go over here and do this right quick. Sir, you are a scammer, a chopper, a liar, a thief, a miscreant, all of the above. Nobody believe you. Nobody believes you, sir. And where was your wife, sir, for your victory speech? Where was your pop heel wife? Where's she there?
She was nursing her wound because her
Hmm.
seat has severely come under threat.
Well,
Her seat has come under threat, so she is nursing as much wound as the husband is nursing tonight.
and they just
Both,
cannot.
both of them realize that they are not safe.
Hmm.
They realize that the ring is closing in on them. And even those in their inner circle will at some point turn on them to save their skin. Don't be surprised if you start hear leaking of the illicit lots.
Well, we know three of them already. And I do believe Ligel is right up there with them. Ligel is, because I saw a picture of him being in the same room with Conjure, and I forget who else is in the picture. When Conjure said they win. Ligel mouth drop open, and it was kind of an instantaneous thing. Your mouth drop open, and then he was like, "Oh shit, my mouth fell open. Let me close my mouth."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a telltale sign right there. Ligel know they didn't win. He know they didn't win.
Regardless of the reading of the the municipalities or the divisional seat,
Mm-hmm.
the popular vote, and if you're counting based on municipalities, because it is 14 municipalities, cities, they win 7, PNP wins 7, including Portmore, and
Right,
PNP win the popular vote.
right.
All of
That
those
tips them over
things
the
for
edge.
me, the director of elections should explain to the people the context of all these different numbering.
Listen, he tried to, according to him, explain. Let me explain my reasoning behind this, sir. Let me explain, sir. All you're doing is talking out both sides of your mouth and using a whole bunch of words. It's just a word salad. And people are looking at you and going, "Well, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense because my math says this." Why your math say that? Are you using what's his name? Mayor mathematician? Mathematician's method of counting? This is
Even me,
crazy. A
even me could
whole
have
week
count better
later.
than even me could have count better than him.
A whole week later, and we don't have from the ECJ a definitive, concise result. We know what the results are. Why are you not acknowledging it? Why? Why are you waiting so long? What's the holdup? We know who won. We just need to hear the official word from you, Mr. Glasshole Brown Noser.
They have to do a
What's the holdup?
dangle to they have to do a dangle to make sure that they take the spring out of Mark Golden campaign. It's trying to throw cold water over Mark Golden's success and the momentum drawn from that success.
Oh, I'll tell you. And then them come run up him, that old conjure, they come run up him out. That, he's licking his wounds and he don't want anybody to know that he's licking his wounds because his party lost the local election. And then out
St.
there,
Mary really St. Mary bothers them, and losing the municipality control
yes,
of the King and St. Andrew
St. Andrew,
municipality
yes. Mm-hmm.
really bothers them. It is the cash cow of local government.
Exactly. And then he come out there. Was it with Cliff Hughes? He talk about this fool. I'm talking about. He's gonna write a book to talk
To
about
capitalize.
this. Yeah. After yeah. That'll be the a lie library of lies, a lie dictionary of lies. Nothing but lies.
Exactly. Debbie, my
Because
sleeping is coming close to me now.
yes, sir.
You know how it goes when I'm up on my 1 hour.
I
But
got
thank
you.
you very much for your participation. My eye's been so glary and tired. For this whole week, my eye has not had much rest other than when
Rest
I'm
because
sleeping.
you've been looking and
I'm
looking and digging and researching.
trolling and digging and looking for something about this local election.
Hmm. I
But
feel you.
this
And
local
before
election result will be a debate right into the general election.
general election, absolutely, absolutely. And before I go, I must say condolences again to you on your family's passing. Your homegoing celebration will be tomorrow. I too. Is it tomorrow? No, Sunday. Yeah, I am also
Sunday.
attending a homegoing celebration for my very dear friend that passed away. Oh, that thing hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm still here trying to hold back the river of water coming out my eyes. We just celebrated, went to her 75th birthday celebration,
Wow.
and 10 days later, she was gone.
My heartfelt
Yeah,
condolences to you as well, and be strong.
thank you. Thank you.
You're
I'm
you're
trying.
welcome.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
You're welcome.
Yes. Globalists, tap up that like button before you exit, please. Tap up the like button. Put before you go, Wayne, put up the instructions on how to go back up, come out the chat and tap the like button because I saw somebody in the chat asking where's the like button.
Okay, I will. I will do that now.
And everyone, join in and tap that like button if you have not already. And share, and share again. Share to your people in Jamaica because half of them don't know what the heck is happening. And
Mhm.
if we can give them some information via WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, share it out to them and let them know.
That's true.
Very true. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, y'all have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful, safe night. And we'll meet again in the next session.
Thank you very much.
All right, Wayne, have a great night. Go rest them eyes, yeah?
And you as well, and have a
All
nice
right.
weekend.
Thanks. You do too.
Okay, then.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was our North American correspondent, Debbie Jervis, always on hand to give the program her support. But if you are not aware how to like the live, on screen at the moment is the graphic that will illustrate to you how to do that. So the yellow circle on the right with the X in the middle, if you hit that X, then your screen will look like the one over on the left. And you just hit that thumbs up below the image. And after you hit the thumbs up, then you just hit the link where it says live chat. And there you would have registered your support for the show. But remember, Global TV will not return until Monday morning because we have family issues to attend to on Sunday night. I hope that you all have a restful, a funful, and a grateful weekend. I thank you all very much for your continuous support. Your support is what keeps Global TV constant and growing. Thank you all once more. I hope I was of some form of service to you throughout this election cycle. This election was a historic election in our country for many reasons. It's the first in a long time it has ever taken us so long to go to the polls for general election. It is the first in my memory a government have to be dragged to court to give you your democratic rights. It is also first in my memory that a sitting leading party take the country into a local government election without a manifesto or a local government policy paper. It is also the first that we've had an election result where it took us almost a week to finalize the result. And at the end of the result, it left the country and a lot of the people broadly in the country and in the diaspora with no closer clarity to what the actual results are and what they mean. I hope I was of some service to you throughout this confusing period. And I also thank you for your support on global television throughout this period. Have a great weekend, and we will see you right back here at our At a Glance program on Monday morning. Good night, and have a great weekend from Global Television.